Just updating the touchdown pass stats. Tom Brady had 4 in the first half. He's got 21 for the season. The Bears still just the 3. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. That's Dionne Miller from ABC7. I'm Dan Wiederer from the Chicago Tribune. Not a lot of updating to do to the Bears passing stats ever. Here we are. How you doing?
See, that's why I wondered. Like, does he not know I'm here? This should not take very long to update the stats. My goodness, this Bears offense is real bad, and it feels like it is in a different way real bad than it was with Mitch Trubisky.
Whoa.
Whoa,
right? Jarring. Whoa, here we are, right? So I decided I was going to give you a pop quiz this morning. I'm going to take the pop quiz also, but it's obviously not a pop quiz for me because I know the questions. This is like in high school when you had that buddy that could come out of a not that this ever happened in my high school, but a buddy could come out of your government class and give you all the answers to the test, and then you'd be like, okay, cool. Not like that ever happened.
I feel like it's back in like 90210 when they broke into the principal's office and they like got all the answer key. That's what's happening right now.
So I have it, you don't.
Right.
So we're gonna go through this. I got 4 pressing questions for you today.
Okay.
You got to help us sort this out for our very loyal audience. The first one is 38-3. We got to tie a bow on what happened inside the Pirate Ship in Tampa. And so I'm going to start here. I'm going to ask you to describe that game with one word.
Rock. No, that's not. That's 2 words. Rock bottom is 2 words. Brutal.
I'll accept brutal.
Okay.
I'll accept brutal.
Is that the wrong
I wrote
answer?
about this coming out of Monday. Look, it was the worst loss in Matt Nagy's tenure as a head coach, 35 points. Roquan Smith called it embarrassing. That word fit. Justin Fields said he didn't know how to feel because he hasn't been used to this kind of losing ever before in his entire life. So that was confusing. But my word was predictable, right? And we sat here a week ago and we told people that this could be the type of game that drops the bottom out of the entire season. You say brutal, I say predictable. You put those together, brutal and predictable leaves you here with the Bears heading into week 8 in a state that Chicago didn't want to see them in, right? The record isn't all that surprising. We figured they'd be right around 3 and 4 at this time of year. But right now, coming off these back-to-back losses to Rodgers and Brady in the humiliating fashion that they happened, this seems like it's trouble. Elaborate a little bit on your brutal answer.
Well, I'm kind of mad at myself that I didn't say predictable because we sat here a week ago and talked about how flat they sounded at Hallis Hall, how they weren't riled up and determined to change the fact that Aaron Rodgers just embarrassed them at home and saying, we're not going to stand for that anymore. That never came out of their mouths. They sounded defeated before they even got to Tampa. I mean, why are we having these rally 24, 48 hours, great team meetings, and we're all getting super close when you've lost 1 game? Like, they were already resolved that this was going to be a loss. They were uncompetitive. They looked unprepared. And that's what made it so brutal to me, is that it was not unlike Cleveland. This was different. This was, like you said last week, like the lever was opening. And now it felt like we knew they were going to be 3 and 4. We knew that they were going to lose to the Bucs, but it just now feels like blah. Like, where do they go from here? And that's what I feel like makes that one so brutal.
And it starts with the Bears winning the coin flip, saying, hey, we're going to take the ball and we're going to get off to a fast start. And not only do they not get off to a fast start, they go 3 and out, give up a 40-plus yard punt return, allow the Buccaneers to score a touchdown on a very short field without Tom Brady completing a pass. It's 21-0 before the end of the first quarter. And everyone that follows the Bears closely goes, of course it's 21-0 before the end of the first quarter. Of course it's 35-3 at halftime, right? Yeah. If the Buccaneers had stayed sharp and they had been as good as the Buccaneers can be, that had a chance to be 50-3, right? Easily. They left a lot of points on the board in the second half and throughout that game. And when you see that and you say, boy, this was a measuring stick game, and that's exactly where the Bears measured up. 35 points below the defending Super Bowl champs.
Yes. But my question is, did Matt Nagy feel like it was a measuring stick game? Did he, or because it didn't feel like they were even going to Tampa believing we're going to do everything we can to win. He said those words, but that is not the way they prepared. At least that's not what it looked like once they took the field.
Yeah, they had problems, and they had predictable problems with Justin Fields and the offensive line unable to account for a blitz-heavy defense that Todd Bowles threw at them, never got going. And we talked about it. If you get in the chase game right now with the passing offense that the Bears have, you're doomed. And they were doomed because their passing offense is awful. And we'll get to that in a minute. I do want to touch on the one thing that you mentioned about this this meeting. It was my question to Matt post game that triggered his answer about how close the team got. And I just basically said, Matt, this is the type of loss that has the opportunity, or the potential, I guess is a better word, to capsize the whole boat and send everybody into the water thrashing. And so what do you do now to make sure that that doesn't happen? If the boat's going like this, how do you as the captain make sure that that thing doesn't flip upside down and leave everybody scrambling for lifeboats? And then he says, in the last 24 to 48 hours, we got close. And then, some players have elaborated on, and there was a team meeting at some point, I think Saturday, he said, and just really saw that they were fighters and they were together, and he knows who they have as people. And the question is, that meeting preceded the worst loss of your entire time as a head coach. So what good is the togetherness if it results in a 35-point loss?
Dan, I wanted to say, gosh, coach, I'm really glad you're all good friends, but this is about winning. Okay. You didn't look good. You look terrible. And my curiosity with this team meeting and the timing of it is, does he feel like he's lost this team? Are they not believing in the Matt Nagy way at all? And did he need to have this rally around me moment heading into this game? But again, they looked uncompetitive. They looked so they looked so JV to the Bucs varsity. It was really, really embarrassing. It was embarrassing from the moment they took that opening kick.
That's it, right? From start to finish. And I thought it was only fitting that the game ended with the Bears down 35 points and Justin Fields throwing a 4-yard check down to Ryan Nall, a backup running back, to finish that game. It's like, I get it, you've got 5 turnovers already, but what is the value of throwing a check down on the last play of the game, right? What are you doing? Right. So let me lead that into question 2, because it's a good segue. Are you worried about Justin Fields? If so, how so? If not, why not?
Yes. How so? I'm worried about him because I'm worried about the hands that are on him, the guys who are trying to develop him. I'm worried about that. I'm also worried about his ability to, because it's not all on the coaches. He's still making some of those same mistakes that he was making the first start, or the first couple times you saw him holding onto the ball too long, not making the split-second decisions that he needs to. I know that will come, but some of this is on him too. And so I'm very concerned that this transition is being marred by the guys he has around him and the coaching staff that isn't preparing him for each start. And then I'm also concerned about how it's affecting him, the losing, the pressure, the things that he's not experienced before, and doing it on this stage where it feels like it is a spiral, it's falling out. And you feel like you hear it in his voice almost, that he's fed up with it too.
I'm not worried yet, but your points are entirely valid. And I think the last one is something to keep tabs on in the weeks ahead, right? Justin has not ever went through this level of struggle where both the individual issues and the team success are in such a state of disarray that you have to kind of get yourself up every day and commit to the grind. One of the things that I always admired about Mitch Trubisky, as inconsistent and as much of a struggle as it was with him at times, is he really knew how to grind. And I remember late in his rookie season, there was 5 or 6 games left in the year. The year was done. You knew John Fox was getting fired. You said, Mitch has every right here to shut it down and say, just tell me when my new coach gets here, and I'll check back in mentally then and try to learn this new offense. And he stuck in that grind till the very end of the last game. This is going to be a challenge that Justin's going to have to take on here. There's still a long way to go here. We're a long way from January 9th when the Bears play their season finale up in Minnesota. And so Justin has to understand that as much frustration as there will be, as much agitation as there's going to be, that there's a commitment to the daily grind here that he has to stay in to make sure that his development gets him on the right footing for whoever's coaching him in 2022. If it's still Matt Nagy, great. If it's somebody else, great. But he's got to be in that. And so that takes some time. We talked about this previously. The things that you worry about throwing a rookie quarterback out there too early are the development of bad habits and the inability to deal with struggle. Right now, I have every reason to believe that Justin has that sort of mental toughness and that commitment to the process that's going to help carry him through. So that's what gives me confidence that he understands. I think you may have asked him on Wednesday that there is this process to this, and there is this rookie learning curve, and you have to just embrace that at times and realize there are going to be some days that are really rough, and then there are going to be days that aren't so rough, and you have to be able to grow through all of them. right now I have confidence that he's going to be able to do that, but I do think that there is a long way to go, and retaining that confidence for as long as he's got to go is going to be a real challenge.
I think that as you're saying that, the things that popped in my head, like, okay, now I am glad that Andy Dalton's in that room. Now I am glad that John DeFilippo is there. Like, that it's not just Nagy's voice that he's hearing right now, right? Like, it's these other guys that can kind of help him navigate this. I feel like that is a positive thing for him. I'm just worried because, as Bears fans have said from the beginning, don't break him. Like, don't break him. We got this. We need to have nice things. Like, can we please have nice things? And you're just worried that this Nagy's hands are going to be too restrictive, or he's going to lose confidence. I mean, he says he's not going to, but that's easy to say right now. We have 10 more games. You thought Cleveland was rock bottom. Then you found a deeper level in Tampa, and now you're trying to dig out of that. It's like, I mean, I just feel like it's tenuous. That's all.
Right. And they've got to play the Cardinals. They've got to play the Packers again. They've got to play the Ravens. The schedule isn't going to ease up to them to some degree where you're going to get on some heater that rectifies this. And so they're going to have to figure it out. I do think it was notable, at the very least, that Justin seemed edgy on Wednesday and seemed very annoyed at just about every question he took from reporters. And you say, look, again, that's fair, and you're welcome to that approach, but there is a long way to go. And as the starting quarterback of a team in this market, you got to get up there every single Wednesday, and you got to put on a good face, and you got to lead, and you got to treat that as part of your growth process. And so he's going to have to figure that out as he's trying to figure out all these things that are going on the field, trying to develop chemistry with receivers that he didn't work with as much as he wanted to during the summer because he was a backup to Andy Dalton. And to your point, you got to bet a little bit on the strength of character of Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, because they are going to have to be resources for him going forward. And if either of those guys are checked out, and then it becomes clear that this coaching staff is going to get blown out at some point, boy, now you've got a rookie quarterback, all alone out at sea with one oar, trying to get the boat back to shore. So
I will say, I don't think that Dalton and Foles are checked out. I mean, just yesterday, I know we get this tiny window of time that we watch practice, but I mean, I watched Andy Dalton a little bit, and it felt like he was intentionally doing everything he does the same way he always has. And I felt like that was a good sign. I don't think they're the type of guys, what we know of their character, that they would check out. That isn't who they are. And I think that is where it becomes very valuable, having those voices around him. But yes, notable that he's edgy in week 7. Not good. Yeah,
a long way to go. Maybe the bye week gets him restored. All right. Third question, and this is a good one. Where in the world was Matt Nagy on Wednesday morning? So let us set this up for our audience before you give your answer, because Matt obviously revealed to us on Monday that he tested positive for COVID-19. Regulations require him to be separated from the team until he can test negative twice within 2 days, separated by those tests. So we knew he wasn't going to be there. The media availability was slim. We were doing it over Zoom from the press room at Hallis Hall. Only a handful of us were there. Matt was asked by Patrick Finley, friend of the program from the Chicago Sun-Times, hey, what's your setup like? You're an NFL coach being forced to coach your team in a game week remotely from some place. What's your setup like? Matt refused to answer. He said, I got a beautiful setup. The setup's great. As you can probably understand, I'm not going to tell you where I'm at. I recoiled on the call, Dionne, because I said, as I can probably understand, no, I don't understand.
No, I don't understand.
Possibly be that you're not giving us this answer. So there's your question. Where in the world was Matt Nagy on Wednesday morning?
He was in his office. He was in his office. Can I have more than one word on this? He was in his office.
That's not a one-word answer. You can have 5,000 words to answer this.
I swear he was in his office. And I think he was, and that's why the setup was so great. He's in his office, but if he is, that's fine. Why didn't he just say, I'm able to come in before anybody else. I don't see anybody. I'm like doing it safely. Instead, it's like all this mysterioso. I think he's in his office watching practice from like some bunker at Hallis Hall. That's what it sounded like.
I don't know that he's allowed there. And so if he is there, then you got problems. Now, if he's at a hotel, say he's following practice over the live stream in a hotel, just say that. Like, you don't have to tell us the exact hotel and room number you're in. Somebody's going to come knocking on your door. Just say like, oh, it's a weird week. It's very strange. But this is like all to the jumble. And there was about 10 of us that were talking about this on our way out of Hallis Hall on Wednesday, being like, why do they make everything so difficult and so mysterious and so confusing and so chaotic when it doesn't have to be. Just where are you? The question was just where are you?
And the fact that he dodged it made me feel even more that he was in House Hall, right? Because if he's in a hotel, like, okay, I'm trying to keep my family safe. I just decided to check into a hotel and stay here until I get my negative test back, just so I don't have to avoid my own family in my own home. I mean, how did that sound weird? No, everyone would understand that. What sounded weird was when he's like, I'm sure you can understand. I'm not going to Matt, we don't want the exact address. We just, just a location. Like, we're not going to come hunt you down. We just want to know, like, are you home?
He's got the blue, the Bears backdrop behind him, which was like obviously a green screen thing that they put up. And you're just like, what? Yeah, well, 100% it was virtual. And so you say, what is actually behind that backdrop? I really want that to just malfunction for a second. And then you see maybe he stayed in Tampa and he's just out there and he's, there you see the waves of Tampa Bay.
Why does it have to be so hard? Like, just say it.
We are recording this on Thursday morning, so we don't know yet whether Matt is going to be back coaching the team on Thursday. People may be watching this after we have that answer, so you'll have that answer at some point. But I even reached out to folks at House Hall, multiple people, just to say, hey, is Matt going to be back? The media is welcome back in full force. We're going to be doing in-person interviews again here on Thursday, and yet I can't even get a straight answer on whether Matt is expected in the building on Thursday.
Is there even enough time? Is there even enough time? Like, if he tested positive on Monday, doesn't he have to have
he could have tested negative Tuesday, could have tested negative Wednesday, and you could have the green light.
Oh, I thought you had to have 2 days in between. Oh, okay, I got you.
To be back in the middle. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, all right. We got the final question of this pop quiz.
That was my favorite one. Well, so far.
There'll be a bonus question at the end, so that'll help you too. We got 10 games left. We just talked about that. Long way to go. You, Dionne Miller, what do you need to see Sunday versus the 49ers? And what do you need to see the rest of the season to change the way you feel about this team right
now? Offensive progress, consistently putting together drives, somehow score more than 14 points, somehow look like you're finding an offensive rhythm, not one drive that looks great or stringing together a couple of good plays and then nothing the rest of the game. I need to see an offense moving in the right direction in a way we haven't yet. And I don't even know if we've seen enough of those flashes from Justin Fields. I think we need to see his confidence growing. We need to see him connecting down the field with these receivers, that they're having these private Zoom meetings with his wide receivers and they're trying to build that chemistry, which how many weeks are we giving them that, like, he didn't take first team reps in training camp excuse? I mean, I'm going with maybe one more week. Like, stop saying that. Now you're practicing together like 6-7 weeks in a row. Like, I'm done hearing about this.
And you're taking reps after practice and all that, right? Like,
right. Like this, you're building the chemistry. It's right there in front of you, right? So I want to see that that's translating to the field. They say they're making the plays in practice. They're close. They're close to this breakout game. Just a feeling, can't explain it, but they're close to this breakout game. And I did hear from Darnell Mooney, though. He's like, because those plays are coming in practice. So it's only a matter of time until they translate to the field on Sunday. Gosh, that time better be this week. I think that's what I need to see to feel like to not doubt everything that's going on at House Hall as much as I am in this current moment.
And you should, right? Because how many times in past years have we heard, oh, yeah, a great week of practice. You'll never believe how great this week of practice was. And it doesn't translate over against other competition on game day. I don't remember what Justin's exact words were on Wednesday, but I think he said something that there was something along the lines of there's a major offensive breakthrough coming very soon. I think he said very soon.
He did.
And then I said, what are the indicators? What leads you to believe that it's coming? He said, just a feeling. Really nonchalant. Just a feeling. Just feel it. And it was almost like sarcastic. And you're like, wow, man, like, I don't know. I can't believe you. And I just don't, like your point that you just doubt everything you're being told because there's no reason not to doubt it.
Right.
So that's where we are right now. I think you look at this 49ers game, and I'm calling it the Desperation Bowl this week. Both teams are in a world of hurt. It's crazy that the 49ers have lost 4 games in a row and they come on the road as favorites, right? That tells you the state that the Bears are in right now. And also, oh, by the way, Khalil Mack may not play, and he may not play for a long while. So now you're climbing uphill with that as well. I think there's an issue here where you've got a game that is obviously less difficult than the last 2 weeks. But the 49ers still play decent enough defense to wrap their arms around your offense, which is easy to wrap its arms around and hold you down for a little while. And so, this may be low scoring, and it's an opportunity for the Bears to get back on track. But to your point, you need to see offensive growth. You need to see a quarterback who's confident. You need to see a quarterback who understands what he's seeing from a defense and is able to make plays. And then for the remainder of the season, you have to try to get a feeling for Matt Nagy's leadership and offensive oversight for, does he deserve to keep his job, right? And these are questions that George and Ted should be asking themselves every single day from this point until January 10th. They should ask it every day and be putting up a pros cons list on a marker board somewhere at Hallis Hall and asking people in the outside world. Like, we advocate for this a lot, right? You've got a lot of proud alumni, right? That played for this organization that are embarrassed right now, that are worried right now, that are anxious right now. Check in with them. Ask them what they think, right? And there are a lot of guys. Hey, by the way, Sunday is alumni weekend at Soldier Field.
So they'll be right there.
A lot of guys on that sideline. George, walk up and down. Take some polls of the guys that have played for this organization and are proud. Just see how they're feeling. You don't have to use it as gospel, but can help inform your evaluation. Man, I mean, again, like I've got underlines here. 10 games left. That's stunning to me because that is a long way to go. And we're already at a state where we're talking about this, regime being blown out, but 9 months after we were promised that they were going to fix everything.
But I think that's the most frustrating part, is that back in January, after another mediocre season where one would argue at that point they could have lost their jobs. And now here they are with this prized possession, doing nothing with it. And I think that's what's even more infuriating is they could win this game on Sunday. Very well could. So now they're at 4-4. Well, they've never fired a coach mid-season. They're not going to do it for a 500 team that's now won, that's snapped a 2-game skid. That's like that's the other thing that bugs me about Matt Nagy. When he talks about last season, he doesn't talk about the fact that we got off to a 5-1 start. No, pay no attention to the goodness here that we blew to pieces when we lost 6 in a row. But check out how we responded to losing 6 in a row. I'm sorry, but Mark Trestman called and said good weeks of practice isn't going to keep you your job. He has to figure out a way to to show marked improvement. I'm not talking about like this kumbaya thing, like we all believe in each other. I'm talking about on the field, win the games, look like you belong. He does not look like he belongs right now, Matt Nagy. And that is scary in his 4th year, where he says it takes 3 to 4 years to get this offense going. But now they're expecting a rookie quarterback to do it in 3 to 4 minutes. And Nagy's asking for more time to and patience to let that come to reality. And you're like, sir, you're not going to get that long. Like, this is performance right now.
Well, and you're not going to get that long when every single year it regresses, right? Like, this isn't like, okay, it's been a slow build. It's been a slow build and the stair steps are going up. The stairs have been going like this. And so that's a problem. And that's something that the folks up the food chain have to look at and say, wow, it just keeps getting worse. We keep changing things. We keep trying things. The numbers keep going down. The frustration keeps getting worse. It is a problem. Again, I always remind people that 2014, that's when the bottom truly dropped out of the Bears season. You remember that. On a daily basis, you were like, oh my God, this is a train wreck. Well, that team was 3-3 with 10 games to go. That team was 5-6 after losing those back-to-back games to the Patriots and Packers. And so it doesn't always reflect in a record how much disarray a team is in. Bears can hang around 500 for a little while longer and convince people that, oh man, we're still staying afloat. Use your eyes. See the eye test. What we're seeing right now with our eyes tells us that this thing is headed in the absolute wrong direction. Again, lever game. I feel like Tommy went and pulled that lever in the first half yesterday. He was determined to get that 4th touchdown pass.
I know. I think he wanted to do 5 with a 5th one. I think he wanted to throw a 5th touchdown and then hold up his 5 finger.
Well, I mean, he got the 4th before halftime, right? And it was just like, man, he really just did that all in the first half. You have 3 touchdown passes for the entire season. Tom just threw 4 on you in the first half. Like, the embarrassment level is so extreme. And so, man, like I said, 10 games to go.
He stole our hearts when he gave that sweet boy his hat at the end of the game. We were all shedding a tear. I mean, he goes from better to best. It's really impressive. And it just shows how far behind the Bears still are.
All right. I'm going to get you out of here on this. Sunday's game is being played on Halloween. This has nothing to do with football. It'll be the first Halloween that I missed trick-or-treating since my son was born. That's going to be a heartbreaking experience watching this Desperation Bowl at Soldier Field. But in your household, what are the Halloween costumes this year?
My daughter is going as Rey from Star Wars.
All right.
I don't know Ray. I don't know that I've even seen the movies with Ray. I don't know that she has either. She's 7, but darn it, she loves the costume and she looks really cute. And then my son is going as he's wearing a Santa suit, but a very creepy LED mask. He put it together himself. It's a DIY year in our house. My favorite, can I tell you my favorite costume growing up? I was Dorothy one year, but my favorite was my mom made me a corduroy orange pumpkin, like circle pumpkin with a green felt hat. And I was a pumpkin and it was awesome. I think I was in 2nd grade. I wish I still had that.
When I was in 2nd grade, might have been my favorite costume too. My mom made a Ewok costume, and it was awesome. I loved my Ewok costume. I'd probably yes. What would you be, 7 years old around that time? That was about that.
Yeah. So what about your house?
Yeah, I was going to say my kids could link up with your daughter because they have a Mandalorian theme going into Halloween. Ryan is going to be the Mandalorian. His little sister is going to be Baby Yoda. I cannot tell you how awesome they look together and how much they're embracing this process, because it's just, you don't have many opportunities to pair them up like that. I think this is going to be a good year for them, but I'm going to miss the whole thing. And it's supposed to be nice. It's supposed to be sunny, mid-50s. The trick-or-treating weather is going to be great. I'm going to get to eat all their candy when I get home from that game on Sunday night, but won't be able to collect it with them along the way.
All right, an argument for another time, but favorite Halloween candy. Go.
I mean, I'm a year-round peanut M&M addict.
Oh, okay. Well,
you?
Candy corn. I'll own it.
Oh, really?
Hate all you want.
Candy corn. Candy corn's controversial. I'm okay with it. It can get gross if it's a little stale.
Yeah, but it takes about 2 years to get stale. It's like Peeps. They just kind of hang out all the time. And
Please tell me you don't like Peeps.
I love Peeps. Are you kidding?
Oh God, those are the grossest things.
Varieties. You know, there's a whole list of like wine pairings with Peeps. Oh, we'll save that for Easter. That's an off-season conversation, Dan.
Boy, we'll get to that another day. Desperation Bowl, Sunday noon, Soldier Field. I'll be there. That's Dionne Miller. I'm Dan Wiederer. We'll see if the Bears can get this thing back on track.
All right. Bye, guys.